Hello. Today we're going to do something really exciting. It's the first time we're going to try a big, heavy smoke in our indoor smoker. So we're really excited about this, and for this attempt, we're going to bring in Thor's hammer, one of the most amazing cuts of meat. If you've never seen one of these, this was sourced directly from Porter Road. This is their French beef shank. It's a dry-aged beef shank with the bone exposed. Lots of fat, lots of collagen in this thing. It's going to take a while to break it down, so we're really excited to see how this performs in the indoor smoker. Real simple smoke today. It's going to be a combination of just salt and pepper, and we're going to run it for about 3 hours initially to see what we look like, and then we'll probably wrap it and then go ahead and cook it to the final probably 3 to 4 hours to get it to be about 200, 205 degrees internal temp. See, it's a nice piece of meat, man. Look at that. Look at that bone, that collagen in there. You can see this is gonna be great. So what we're gonna do is just put a really nice heavy thing in. For today, I'm just gonna use Lowry's. Not my typical go-to, but I thought I would use Lowry's because I believe it's a finer powder. The salt will penetrate more, and this big hunk of meat, I think it's really important. Instead of using a much coarser salt that I'll use typically. In this case, we're just gonna put a very nice heavy coat of the Lowry seasoning salt on this. I wanna make sure it's really covered. This is a big piece of meat, and to make sure that we're imparting that salt and that flavor directly through this entire piece of meat, we need to heavily salt it. So what you'll see now is I'm getting a good dusting on this. I'm gonna get it coated nice and tight. And again, the bone is being exposed here. We're gonna wrap that in aluminum foil to protect it from the actual entire cooking process. So now there's a nice heavy coat on this. I'm gonna toss this all around, get it really kind of worked in. We'll bring our pepper in. So again, I like to use a nice coarse pepper in this thing, and I want it to be really covered well. So we'll go ahead and get this really salt, and you'll see this big chunky pepper, which I love. This is known as butcher pepper many times. We're gonna get it put on pretty heavily here. So as I begin the prep work for this, the first thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and get our thermometer out. And here, our probe, our temperature probe is getting installed quickly. That, and then I'm going to make sure that we put the rack on this case on the lowest one I can fit in here while still keeping my drip pan. And then what I'm going to do is put this in here and start the heating process. So what I'm going to do now is actually preheat the Arden. So on this point I'm going to customize this. And what I want is my target probe. I think I'm going to set it to probably about 200. And I'm going to bring the smoker temperature down to around 225, I think, for this to start with. I'll probably raise that a little more once I get a long smoke, and I'm going to keep it on 5 on the smoke level. So I'm going to go ahead and do this and hit start. And it's making sure that we add water, which I've already done. I'm going to confirm that. I've added the pellets, and I'll confirm that. And now it's all right. Now it's time to put the Thor's hammer into the smoker. Alrighty, and the Thor's hammer is now into the smoker, away from the light, and looking beautiful. And the smoking has started. You can see the internal temperature right now is at 60 degrees, which is a good starting point. Hopefully we'll come back and check on this in just a bit. Getting ready to prep and pull the Thor's hammer out of the smoker. So something unique while using the indoor smoker. Have to plan a little and taking out and clearing the smoke. And as you can see, it's maintaining its temperature of 240 inside, internals at 152. It's going to take about 8 minutes to clear this. All right, now comes the time that we're going to pull the Thor's hammer out. This beef shank is looking tremendous right now. We've got an internal temperature of about 152. What I'm really trying to do is make sure that bark on the outside looks good, so I've cleared the smoke, and let's take a look and see how it looks now. You can see it is looking outstanding in here. Okay, so now we're actually going to go ahead and cover this in some nice Wagyu beef fat. and then wrap this really well in this butcher paper. So this is just adding a lot of beef fat to keep this nice and juicy. And let me tell you, this is already starting to smell fabulous. So what we're gonna do is take this, with a big turn on it. We want it nice and tight. So we're gonna pull this in, try to get it nice and tightly wrapped in here so that our bone is sitting up. So we can fill the bone up here on the top of this. And we're gonna put this back into the smoker. One of the best parts about having the profile in the house is now I'm able to actually smoke and get a great traditional smoke ring and crisp outsides in the smoker. But one of the things I really like about it too is now that I've got it into just kind of the cook stage where the smoke's really not having a huge effect anymore, is I've actually turned the smoke level down and just made this as kind of its own oven now. So I'm gonna set this in with monitored at 161 right now as our internal temperature. We'll come back and check it here in a couple hours. My guess is in about 2 to 2.5 hours, we should be right around the 200 to 203 range. And once that's done, we'll pull it out and we'll rest it. Okay, the internal temperature of the Thor's hammer has just reached 185 degrees. So we're almost there. And I noticed I wanted to get a little more crust on it. So what I'm gonna do is remove it from the paper and be very cautious about all that liquid that's gonna be in there and try to wrap it. And then I'm gonna let it finish for the last 20 minutes or so, just on a very high temperature to try to add a really nice crust to it. Okay. So now we have this out, and I just want to make sure that it looks really good. So we're going to take a quick look at it. It looks like it's coming along perfectly. I can just see the liquids falling out of this thing right now. And you should smell this. It looks amazing. Oh, it's so hot. Okay. You know what? I want to take a real quick internal temp of this thing. I've got my handy probe. I'm going to take a quick peek. It's still tough. I can feel it. It's 193. We're almost there. We're about 7 degrees away from getting it to where we want it. So I think this is absolutely a perfect time to bring this beautiful thing in to finish it up to get a nice crust on this and work it out at the end. So let's put it back in and we'll run it for the last half hour or so and try to break all this fat down. Okay, looks like the internal temperature has hit just about 200 degrees. So we want to go ahead and pull this out and wrap it and then stick it in a foil and then put it in a cooler and let it sit for about an hour to bring all the juices back. So let's take a look. Man, that looks good. It smells great. I'm excited to try this. Now that we've got this out, we can see it's got a beautiful crust on it, cooked all the way through. Internal temperature is sitting at about 203 degrees. So I think this is perfect. What we're gonna do is wrap it in aluminum foil tightly, put a towel on it, and then stick it in a cooler for something that we call FTC. Okay, we've now let this rest for about an hour in the cooler, and we're gonna unwrap it, and hopefully we'll be able to pull this apart and see how wonderful the smoke looked on this. I can tell you the smell's freaking phenomenal. Oh, and it's starting to fall apart. Look at that stick. See, that's a sign. I don't know if you saw the stickiness. When you start to render the fat, what you're really getting is it's fall apart. This is gonna be perfect. The smell is phenomenal on this. So we'll take this off to protect. So we wanna keep this, if you were to serve this on a plate, I think it's nice with that beautiful bone exposed and this great meat. I can tell you right now, the tenderness of it is perfect. So let's go ahead and pull this apart, see if we can get this bone out of here. Oh, it's still hot. Look at that meat just fall off. Oh, that's beautiful. That is absolutely gorgeous. Oh, it's so freaking hot. Woo! This is beautiful. Look at that. These pieces of meat are outstanding. Good thing is I have a full house here tonight and we were supposed to have this for dinner. So now being able to try this is going to give us a great opportunity to experience Thor's hammer for the first time. So let's see. I'm going to kind of pull this apart a little so we'll work this out and I can feel it already. Oh my God. I'm just going to have to try this. It smells wonderful. Boy, that beef is perfectly. Look at that. Good smoke ring on it. You can see that. It is outstanding. The smoke in this, let's see the flavor. Wow. Very briskety. Very, very briskety. Wonderful. It's like brisket, but not as chewy. It's got a little more tenderness. It's almost like a pulled pork, but with beef. So great flavor, great flavor. So let's go ahead and pull this apart, and then we'll go ahead and try to serve this out. So in summary, I would say it was a great cook. I'm really excited about having the profile sitting on the counter now because it gives us a new option to bring culinary experience into the kitchen. So no longer do I have to go outside, especially on these cold days in Chicago, to smoke. Would I think it's the perfect replacement for my pit? Of course not. Is it great for being able to add smoke and flavor inside? Absolutely. I've done racks of ribs on it now and had good success. And next time we're going to be doing the bacon rib. So that's pork belly bone in. So I'm excited to try it. So I hope you'll follow the channel and continue to join me as we explore new ways to push the culinary limits.